Hey guys, we just want to reach out to the GFL fam and say thank you guys so much for your love and support. Yes. Thank you to our new subscribers. We are definitely here for you, and you give us the encouragement we need to keep on moving forward.
Yes, guys. Thank you guys for being here. God bless you guys. I hope that you guys get to stick around and just know that we're here for you guys. As crazy as that might sound, to think like, hey, where are these people from California and, they really care about me and way on the other side of the world? Yes, we care about you no matter where you're at and in what part or season you're in your life or in your relationship with God. Even if you don't have a relationship with God, we're here for you.
That's right.
You can message us on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We are on all of the platforms if you want to follow us there too for YouTube. And
if you want to go, YouTube and Facebook for sure. But if you want to just go the audio route, we're on Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio. We're also on Podbean, which has a really cool app that you can listen to. It kind of also, there's a button on that app that you can speed it up just a little bit to save yourself time, but it doesn't sound all weird like a chipmunk. But just something that if you want to look into it, it'd be cool.
Yeah. So thank you guys for joining us. And if you want to just don't miss any more of the episodes, just hit the subscribe button.
Yes.
And make sure that you like this video and share it if it helped you.
That's right. And so for those of you that have already been a part of the GFL fam, we just thank you guys for your love and support and just the outpouring of messages that we get. It's so encouraging, and we just couldn't keep going without you guys. Thank you guys. God bless you guys. All right, welcome back to the Grace Family Love Podcast. We are back again here with you for episode number 28. Joe and Vanessa, and our goal as always is to help you stop surviving and start thriving in 2021.
Yay!
So beginning of the year, we're getting it started. This will be the official first podcast
That's
of 2021.
Oh,
so we are here, we're doing it.
Yeah, guys. So the crazy part about it is that every time we're going to sit here, we're just like 27, 28, 21, 19, 17. And it's crazy to just think about how God has definitely moved in our lives. And one of the best things I think that we learned last year is that when you just really allow God to come in your life and allow you to help you grow, there is just like amazing changes that happen. And I think that the podcast is an example of just that. So today we kind of just want to talk about, I was telling Joe, like I was kind of having a hard time because I feel like I have so much in my heart, that I just want to like get out. It's like causing me, like, I'm just like
10-hour episode.
No, we're not going to do 10-hour episode. But it just like, I'm just trying to just see what's like the order, right? So one of the things that I think that the other things are important, they are very important, but I think that what we want to talk about today is just communication. Why? Because when you're able to just communicate, it doesn't matter if it's your spouse, your mom, your dad, the neighbor, the cat, the dog, it doesn't matter. Communication is key to be able to have a clear heart and a clear mind. When you don't have a clear heart and a clear mind, anxiety starts to kick in, discouragement starts to kick in, and then guess what? We're living 2020 all over again, not because of all the circumstances, but just because our mindset and then the way that we handle things.
Yep. And we did, when we first started this podcast, we kind of did this series of the top 4 causes for divorce to try and help give advice on how to avoid them. And when we asked people what it is that they thought were the leading causes of divorce, communication always comes up.
Yes.
And so we didn't want to pass that off either as not valuable or not important, but communication is actually one of those that it's kind of right along there with trust, that it affects all the other areas in our life that could lead up to problems or divorce, or when we get it wrong, it affects every single area. So if you were to look at the causes for divorce, communication is always going to be an underlying issue, a lot like trust. So this episode is dedicated just to that. And our hope, at least my hope for you guys, I know we each want to give you guys something to kind of stay with, is to be able to find out not just when it's appropriate to communicate, But how to do that?
Yeah, I think that's like huge right there. And that's definitely key. But before we start, I want to just get like our foundation from this verse, and it's in Proverbs 15. So if you've been with us for a little while, you're going to know that everything that we kind of talk about, it's like, I was telling Lily today, we went to the store and there was a book of God's parables. And if you think about it, not God, Jesus' parables. And Jesus always would talk to his people in stories. I don't know if you noticed that. Like he would always give them a certain, what is it? Like kind of like basically give it to you in apples and oranges so that way you can understand it, you know, because sometimes we just get lost in just kind of like the rules of things. And then we just forget about just like the small things that make a huge difference. So this right here to me is something that it's maybe so simple, but we just don't practice this as much. So Proverbs 15 says, a soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. So sometimes in a marriage or in a situation or in a relationship or and when you're having a conversation with somebody, when they say something or they don't do something or they don't say something, you instantly can get upset.
Yeah.
And here's an example. We went to the snow. This already looking at you like, what are you going to say?
Oh yeah, I'm just on edge right now because I have no idea what's about to come out.
So we went to the snow. We always usually like to go to the beach or to the snow like the first day of a year. So my sister's like, hey, let's go to the snow. So I was like, okay, cool. Let's go to the snow. So my sister's at the store and she calls me and she's just like, hey, I think we're going to need snow tires. Do you want me to grab some for you? And I'm just like, yeah, that's fine. So she hangs up and I tell him like,
snow chains.
And I'm like, hey babe, do you know what like the tires do we have, like the number, the size? And he's just like, no. And then he kind of just chills. He's like on the phone and I'm just like, okay, my sister's going to get some first. Can you go check? He's like, yeah, I can do that. And then he just kind of still stays there. So in my mind, these are all of the thoughts that came to my mind. Okay. He didn't know any of this, but they were all my thoughts. My sister's at the store. We're supposed to be leaving at 10:30. We still got to get snacks. We still got to go get breakfast. We still got to stop to go get snow boots. And it's in an hour and a half. I'm just like, okay, my sister's probably super frustrated. I'm like, okay. I was like, do you want, I can go do that. I can go do it. Cause I'm like, okay, maybe if I say that, you know, he'll go do it. And this is the way that we women work. It's so crazy, but we're just like, fine, I'll do it. We don't want to do it. And we just get grouchy anyways because we're doing it ourselves. So we take the opportunity from them doing what we're needing of them. And then you still get mad. You don't communicate. And then everybody's a bad guy. You're a bad guy. He's a bad guy. Everything. And it's just, everything's chaos. So on our way over there, we were just talking and he's just like, why didn't you just tell me all that? You know? And I'm just like, why didn't I just say all that? You know, because they're not mind readers. And 14 years, guys, 14 years. Can you believe he's still not a mind reader?
That's right. Still haven't picked that one up yet. Working on it, though.
That's right. So what we just kind of wanted to say is like, it doesn't matter how many years you're married. If there is something that you want, and we wanted to talk about this because it's New Year's. You have goals. He has goals. I have goals. I have goals for him. Like, and that's usually what we do as husband and wife, like not the husband, but mainly the wife. We usually have goals for our husband that they don't even know about. So because it's, you know, time is passing by and they're not meeting your goals that you set up for them in their mind, like then they're discouraging you when they don't even know about it. Like how crazy is that? So I kind of want you to just talk to the girls and just give them an example of like, how is it that, just kind of like their husband, the mindset of just like maybe like a man in the beginning of the year. Because I mean, you guys have your own stuff going on too. You know, it's not like it's just us, you know, like, or the whole family. Like you have your own stuff as well.
So what is it that you want me to speak to?
Just like if you can
give my perspective.
Yeah, your perspective.
So I'll go ahead and hit the rewind button a little bit because I like the way that when she was asking me to go check the tires, it sounded like a children's book. She didn't say it like that. Okay. I'm gonna be honest with you. She did not say it like that, which leads towards my point where 99.9% of the time, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And so needing my help is not a bad thing. Needing me to go take care of something is not a bad thing. But how she goes about asking me or getting that from me is usually the issue. Because she has less problems communicating than I do. So she can talk and kind of work through her feelings as she's talking. Whereas I internalize things and I do a lot more of my sorting out of my feelings mentally.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't just come out all of a sudden. So that's kind of a lot of where our conflict comes from. But in doing that, just because she's saying something doesn't mean that she's telling me what I need to know about
like
the situation.
The whole story. Yeah.
Right. So she's saying one thing that she needs my help, but the way she's saying it, she's telling me as if she asked the kids to pick up their laundry 10 times already. And now she has to say it one more time. Like we're all gonna lose our privileges, the whole house. So that's how she's actually saying it, because there's urgency in her mind.
Yeah, all of that was going on.
It needs to be right now, because if my sister leaves, then now we have to go, and then that's another trip, and then that's more time. So I didn't know all of that going through her head, but I could hear the urgency in her voice, the way that she's like shaming me with her eyeballs. And like I said, we're on the verge of losing our privileges, the whole house, the cats, the dogs, everybody. And so that part irritates me automatically. And so I have to be careful now, because when I respond, I'm trying to contain all of that. And so usually what happens is it's like, I'll do it. Rolling my eyes, and I throw the blankets off, and it's like, because I don't like going to the snow anyway, right?
He doesn't like to go.
So that's already, you probably already know this, but I was an Army veteran, and I was forced into the snow. And so all of my memories are like, when I get out of the Army, I am never going to the snow again by choice, so that's stuck in my head. So anyway, so I have all of this going through my head, right? It's going to be a long day in the snow. It's going to be so cold. The kids are going to be crying how freezing it is and their hands hurt. So that's going through my head. And I'm like, if I can just get a moment's rest before I have to hit the ground, and then it's running until the end, I'll be okay. And so right when I decide that in my mind, it's like, can you get up and go do this? Because my sister needs it right now. And I'm like, really? Yes, I can do that. I'll do that. Because it wasn't right that second, because I didn't jump out of bed before she finished the sentence and all of a sudden have my clothes on and my boots ready to go outside. There was automatically conflict stirring up, so we have to be careful now to make sure that we're not doing what this verse says, and a soft answer turns away wrath, right? So I did my best to say, yes, I'll take care of that. But I didn't move fast enough. Okay. So the second part, but a harsh word stirs up anger. So if she started with a harsh word, which in my opinion, the way she asked me was a little rough, could have been better. Okay. But it wasn't bad, right? It wasn't worth fighting over. So now I needed to be careful about my response, because if I let her, get away with that, that also could start stirring up problems in me, because now she's got one up on me, right? So we like to get even. So she irritated me. So my response, I'm super sarcastic to say something really, sarcastic and be rude and whatnot. So all of these things are happening, and I know it happens for you too, but it's split seconds. All this information is going through her head that I don't know, and it causes her to react and say things based on everything that's stirring in her mind. Because I don't have that information, she says it to me in a way that's like, you're pushing it. And so now I get irritated and stirred up inside. And now I have to be careful of my response. And that's how easily arguments can start over things that are so insignificant.
Yeah. Like you just ask somebody to do something. And with that, just simply something as simple as that, it's like, bam, the whole trip can be ruined. You know what I mean?
And here's the thing. The day was amazing, right? The kids had a blast. I had a good time. We all had a good time. Okay, none of our expectations of how, what I thought was going to be, none of that happened. Like, it was just a blast. Like, it was probably the best time in the snow that I've ever had, seriously, in my life. And so it was great. Now, all of that could have been ruined by a bad attitude, poor mindset, just being negative the whole time about how terrible it's going to be, but, and I bring that up because it doesn't work if we don't each do our part.
Yeah.
Right. She could do her best to be loving and kind to me, but if I'm just being a total jerk the whole time, the kids feel that. The kids see that, hear that, sense that. And I could just make everybody walking on eggshells and then make it so that the kids can't even enjoy themselves, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So I just want to show, like, that might have been an extreme example, right? To say I ruined the whole day. But the truth is it starts with something so little, and then we magnify it, and then it's amplified, and then we get worked up. And one of the craziest things, I've said this before, but I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but Vanessa will have a dream sometimes that I cheated on her, and then she'll wake up and she's mad at me, and she's like talking.
Hey, that hasn't happened anymore. When was the last?
We'll just leave it like that. So we'll leave it at that. So then what happens is that she's talking to me like if
it actually happened.
Yeah, like if it actually happened, and that whoever she was dreaming about that I cheated on her with, that I like those kind of girls, or that girl better than her, or whatever. I don't know. It was weird. It's crazy. But what I'm getting at is that if she in her mind decides that this is true, if this happened, right, and that's how she wakes up, like this really happened, then all of the things that happen after that are a story that's completely fabricated in her mind, but it's still affecting the way that she's interacting with me. So vice versa, if we change roles there, that doesn't really happen to us about the dreaming thing. But what happens is sometimes we get offended, right? The way she looks at us, the way she says things, treats us like a little kid, and we get irritated about it, or we feel disrespected.
Yeah.
Then what happens is that our wheels start turning. We start playing out this argument in the scenario that hasn't even happened yet, and we're already predispositioned for battle. We're ready, prepared for war. And so we've got all these things worked up and ready to say, and it affects our ability to just be loving and kind. Yeah. And that's really all that we need to do. And even in the worst situations, if we just follow this advice, the second part of this is, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Yeah. Okay. If we just avoid that part, we're going to get ahead of the game. Yeah. The next verse, it says this: the tongue of the wise uses knowledge rightly, but the mouth of fools pours forth foolishness. So what is it that we do when we get hurt, disrespected, irritated, or feel unloved? We stop thinking about how to be respectful and loving, and we start thinking about how we can hurt or win or get an edge on the other person. And so those things that we know about each other, that we know the good and the bad, right? But instead of highlighting the good and pointing out the loving, wonderful things that we're grateful for, and that we are excited about each other and attracted to about each other, we skip that stuff, and we use the knowledge that we have of one another to hurt each other. And that's just foolishness coming out of your mouth. That's just drama pouring out. But that's how we get when we get hurt, and all of that because we didn't say what we were really thinking. Yeah. Because we didn't share what we were feeling. Yeah.
So and I think that the reason why we, some people could be like, man, why are you guys like telling everything? Like, that's a little bit too much information. But to be honest, like, we wouldn't be truthful if we're just telling you like it never happened. You know what I mean? Because it's like, we're humans just like everybody else. And the sense of how it can just easily get to somewhere, like, we are happy because when we come across or we're both human, like, we can go past that and just be like, okay, it was a misunderstanding. He was frustrated. I was frustrated. He was hangry. I was hangry. You know what I mean? Like, things like that, because it's like, it's true. Like, one of the things, it's funny because it's like, please don't catch me on a day where I'm really hungry, because I'm just like, I can't see straight. You know what I mean? And it's funny because he's true. So, and he makes fun because he's like, somebody give this lady a cheeseburger or something, but we learn to laugh at it because we know each other already so well, and it's not that it's, it's you on purpose. It's just like, maybe you had a bad day. Maybe you had a bad morning. Maybe, you have things on your mind. And then that's when you say like, hey, You don't seem like yourself. Are you doing okay? What can I help you with? So we wanted to just talk about this because when you start 2000, now that we're starting this year, there's going to be a lot of things in your mind that you're going to want to do or accomplish, whether it's, fixing the house, or whether it's, taking a trip this year, or whether it's, taking a class together, reading books, whatever it is, don't just keep that to yourself. Share with your husband, share with your spouse, because if you have these goals, it works a lot better if you share and if you guys work together to allow these goals to come to pass. And make sure that you communicate. And if you say, like, Vanessa, you say that word, but what does that mean? Like, what does it mean? Okay. You need to focus on those things. If you say something and you see them kind of just like get offended, then you need to back up and say, okay, you seem a little bit offended. Like, what did I say that made you feel offended with my goal? And they can say, well, this, or we don't have the finances, or we already did this, or whatever. Just say, okay, so let me back it up. If they're misunderstanding you what you want, then you need to say it again in a way they understand it. Okay. And then again, if you say, can you just tell me, like, what did you hear by what I said now? So he can say, well, I heard this. Okay, so it's still not like that. Let me repeat it again. Because what you want to continue to do is kind of get the feeling stuff out of the way, that like my feelings are hurt. He doesn't understand. He doesn't want to work with my goal. Like, no, just talk about it. Just know that you guys are not enemies. Like, you're not enemies. You know what I mean?
That's right. So what she was talking about is kind of, they call it paraphrasing. So when she says something to me, it helps me to know that I've understood her by repeating it back and saying, this is what I think you're saying. And if it's not, she will repeat it again. The good part about let's just say, for the sake of our example here, that she's telling me something, I've paraphrased and I got it right. Okay. What that does is, if I have to actively listen to her in order to paraphrase her message and make sure that I've understood it correctly, that helps me to focus on what she's actually saying. And that allows her to know that I'm actually listening. I'm present. I'm focused on what's coming out of her mouth. And then I repeat it back. So she knows, and has this comfort that she's being understood and listened to. And so that's one of the things that women complain about guys about the most, is you never listen. So sometimes we hear things, but we're really not listening, because as soon as it starts, and I'm talking about a conversation, or if she approaches you with something, we categorize it as nagging. And if we put it in that category, it's like, we already start shutting down and we're not hearing the message. Or if we find it that it's offensive, if it becomes something offensive, again, we put up these blockers, these walls, and then we categorize it as that. And then what we do is we start reloading, we start preparing for battle, right? And we start preparing the next thing that we're going to say, so that we can make her feel bad, so that we can win the argument, and so on and so forth. But the truth is when we win, we still lose. So if you're listening to her so that you can paraphrase her message, it gives her the comfort of knowing that she's being listened to and heard and understood. And if we can do that, then you're going to avoid a lot of arguments. And so let's say we're paraphrasing, right? Whether we get it right or wrong, what's also doing for us is that, like she said, it discharges the emotional part of it. And now we're just actively doing something. And when our mind is occupied doing something, we are not out in outer space, or thinking about the sports game coming on, or thinking about the fight, or thinking about, our friends or work or whatever. We are in the moment. We are engaged. We are listening. And that is going to help you in so many ways to not just develop communication, but develop a relationship with each other, because she wants somebody to listen to her. She needs somebody to listen to her, to understand her. And that's why women can generally sit around a table and talk for hours or talk on the phone. But what happens is we want her to come to us with those things. Sometimes we get upset. We're like, why do you got to tell your mom everything? Why do you got to tell your friends everything? Well, they wouldn't have to if they could tell us everything. But are you somebody that she can tell everything to? Are you listening? That's a big deal.
Yeah. And I think the part where he was talking about the nagging part, they stop when we're nagging and they stop when they feel disrespected. And then most of the time it's those two things. Because if you think about it, one of the things in the beginning of our marriage, he would just get on me all the time because he's just like, I never do that, Vanessa. I always do that, Vanessa. Like,
hint of sarcasm.
Yeah, just, and when he would say that, I'm just like, okay, maybe not all, maybe 75.6%. You know what I mean? Like, if we are gonna,
like, so you're telling me there's a chance?
You know what I mean? So that's what happens. And what I mean by nagging is like we come and instead of telling them what we need, we just tell them what they're not doing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you.
So, and one of the reasons why I figured this out, because I have 3 boys in the house. Well, had 3 boys in the house. And I didn't really understand, one, like how to raise a teenager first in the beginning, because I was 19 and he was already 6 years old, right? When we got married. Yeah. So I learned really quickly. He grew up so fast. So I had a teenager when I was like in my 20s. I mean, like he was already like older and he was just so mature. And I didn't understand like how to come across to a teenager and a boy. So I figured out really quickly that they don't work with nagging. They just don't. They work a lot with positive reinforcement and with simple directions. So say the living room, you ask them to vacuum the living room and you come and it's still dirty. You say like, every time you vacuum, you never do it right. What you're actually wanting from them is just to vacuum and make sure they got every corner. They made sure that there was nothing on the ground. But instead of just saying that, this is what you're doing. You're never doing it right. I always tell you to, and I have to come back and do it again and again and again. And look, what your brother does it better. Like you start just trying to make them feel bad.
Yeah.
When you could have simply just said, hey babe, look, I still see that there's like still a bunch of little things on the ground. Can we make sure the next time we vacuum, we make sure that we clean it all up, that there's nothing left on the ground? That's exactly what you needed from them. Nobody felt disrespected.
Yeah.
And you weren't nagging. You just what would you say? Like,
yeah, you reinforced it with a clear, concise message.
And thank you for vacuuming. Can you just make sure you do it again? I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. And
that was it. So I started noticing that worked a lot better. So because I had to know that with him, then I knew that worked with him.
That's right. And we don't get shamed into doing things.
They don't. They really don't. It doesn't work with them. Like if you're just like, oh, let me do it myself. Like they don't care. It's like,
all
go
right.
ahead.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
No, I'm serious. Like, so they don't feel guilty. Like you're like, I'm going to make them feel guilty. No, you don't make them feel guilty.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So you take that away from them. And because we're not communicating it at the time, then you're upset, then he's upset, and everybody's upset. So those are important things to say. When you say, or when you talk to your husband, your kids, your boys, make sure that you tell them what you need from them and why you need that from them. Skip the name calling, skip the, you never do this. Just tell them what you need and make sure that you appreciate it after you tell them what you need.
Yeah, that's a big deal. And I want to give the guys a couple of tips here too. And I generally don't do this, but I think it's appropriate in this because communication is such a big deal just throughout. And if we want to start 2021 right, that's a good place to do it, is to just get better in our communication. If your wife is struggling and she's really doing her best to keep up with everything that goes on, right? We all have something going on. We all have lives that we're trying to keep together. And then for those of us that have families or children, it's amplified because laundry never stops. Eating never stops, right? Filth is always around. Like it's hard to just keep it at bay. It's always creeping out. And so what I would suggest is this: if your wife is having a down day and she's struggling and she needs you to listen, would you just work on not interrupting her? And I'll give you these 3 things, okay? 1, don't interrupt. And that goes with part of that paraphrasing thing. If I'm interrupting her, then I'm not going to get the message clearly. And then she's going to get frustrated. Like, would you just let me finish? Okay. Which is a lot of arguments have that phrase in it.
That's true.
Okay. So don't interrupt. Okay. Let her finish talking. If you feel like you don't have the words, please don't make them up. Don't say anything. Just hug her. Just be present. Okay, hold her hand or give her a hug or just put your arm around her and let her know that you're near and that you're on her team, that you're on her side. Okay, that will be so helpful and it will save you from getting slapped for trying to do the right thing, right? Maybe not literally, but you won't get any backlash. Sometimes what happens is she's trying to express herself. And like I said before, women generally work through their feelings while talking about it. So she may not know how she feels, and don't give her that advice that a lot of men do because it works for us. Is like, well, just stop thinking about it. Don't try not to say that. Okay. I get it because I've said it. I still say it sometimes. So just try not to do that. Okay. I know that's our best advice and it totally works for us. But don't say that to her when she's on the verge of a meltdown because she might just claw your eyes out or something. I don't know. So fair warning. Okay, so don't interrupt.
They're going to be like, damn, what kind of couples you guys be talking to?
Just leave it at that. Okay. It's just don't interrupt. Okay. That's number one. Okay. Number two is if you don't have something to say, if you don't have the right words, then you don't have to make something up. Just be present. Just hold her hand, put your arm around her. Okay. The last one I would say is when she's done expressing herself, and let's say you even did the paraphrasing, right? So you're making brownie points and you got it right. You heard the message. It's clear. You understood. If you don't know what to do, don't be afraid to ask her and say, do you just need me to listen or do you need me to help you fix something? Yeah,
that's big, guys. Okay. He used to do this in the beginning and it really makes a big difference.
Yeah. And a lot of times we're fixers, right? We want to fix things. We want to make it right. And if she just needs you to listen and then you're like, well, why don't you do this? Okay, well, why don't you do that? And then we throw out why don't you just stop thinking about it? Like we're trying to give these solutions that we think are best. But we're just not in their shoes and we just don't think like them. And we may understand them. We may have years of marriage that helps us give good information on what we think we should say. But she just may not be there.
Yeah.
And so if she just needs you to listen to get it out, she's trying to figure out how she feels about it, then that is actually a big relief off of your shoulders because you don't actually have to do anything.
Yeah.
You just have to sit there and listen, be loving and be supportive. And that's awesome. Yeah. Now, if you say, do you need me to just do you want me to just listen or is there something you need me to help you fix? And she might even get taken back by that. Like, what the heck? I didn't think about it like that. And she might say, you know what? Yeah, I could, if you would do this for me, this would help me, or this would solve my problem. And it may be super simple. And just her expressing exactly what it is that she needs from you frees your mind and your imagination because you don't have to make it up. You don't have to guess. You don't have to read her mind, right? Like we talked about in the beginning. You don't have to do anything. She's giving you the information that you need to help be that support that she needs. And so those three things I think would be a huge help for us guys in our ability to communicate well and to be a support while she's communicating to us. So again, I'm just going to say it again because I think it's important, right? Yeah. One, and help me out if you think that I'm missing something or if you want to add to it.
No, I think that's it. Like the sad part about it is, and I talk to girls a lot about this because we're really hard on you guys. Like we really are.
Yeah.
Like we are, and I tell the girls this, isn't it funny that your husband does not have a list for you? He doesn't have a list of all the things you don't do. And you can probably say right now, because I'm pretty sure I'm reading your mind, well, it's because I do them all already. You're probably right. You probably are right. But the thing is that, no, I'm serious.
No, I'm enjoying this. That's all.
But it's we're super, super picky. Like with everything that we want, and we want it the way we want it done, the way we need it done, and we're hard on ourselves too, and we're hard on them.
Yeah,
it's like
that's
an all around thing.
Yeah.
So, but when we're hard on them, and then they don't meet our expectations, can you just imagine like how they're constantly always feeling? Like there's this always list, this never ending list of that they never get to fulfill your needs, that they never meet your expectations.
Yeah.
How about that? And when they don't meet your expectations, that's pretty discouraging. Like I can't even imagine being hard on myself and then having Joe having a list for me of all the things that I don't do right. I'd be like, you know what? I'm out. Like, I'd just rather be by myself.
Yeah. Like, look at myself in the mirror. It's tough. We tried again. We failed again. We'll try again tomorrow.
You know what I mean? Like, it's so sad. It's really, really sad. And then we don't even say thank you for the things that they do, even if it's just a little bit, even if it's just something as simple as going to work, because you can say like, well, that's simple. Like he goes to work and I have to go to work and I still have to take care of the kids. Right. But again, it's not about you. It's about them.
Yes.
And that's where we get stuck, because we just constantly think, well, this is what I'm doing. This is what he's not doing and I'm doing. This is again, what all of the things and then we just get stuck in that mindset. And because of that, when we communicate with them, we're already like gushing out like vomit, all of those things that we're constantly thinking that we don't say, but we're feeling against them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And it comes out at the worst time too. Cause it's like, oh, like he didn't put the cap on the toothpaste, and then this word vomit comes out. And it's like, oh, like
I'm sorry.
I didn't realize this little tiny piece of plastic meant so much to you. I'll try harder next time.
But it's so sad, but it's so true, you know. Sorry, we're having a blast over here, guys. But it's just like, I think that's why to me, like, it's so important, you know, and I'm glad that we can laugh about it, because this is not a laughing matter. Like it's anytime when it comes about communication, geez, that's like one of the hardest things.
Yeah, we've almost divorced over this several times.
Seriously. So for us to be able to have that little incident for the snow, and then it be like nothing, like the moment he went to go check and he sent it off to my sister and he's like, I did it. I was like, okay, thank you, babe. And that's it. It was done. We were like, then we went to go to McDonald's. Then we went to go do whatever we needed to do, and it was over with already. Yeah. You know, but before it would have been just like, that's it. I'm done. He didn't go check immediately. And then it's like, it's just crazy. It's crazy the way our minds work. So we know how important this is for both sides. We know how unappreciated both sides can feel because we're not communicating properly. So this week, guys, practice those things. Can you say that one more time before we go?
So the first one was to let her finish, right? The second one was, if you don't know what to say, don't say anything. The third one was to
you said hug her.
Yeah. So don't say anything. Just be present. Yeah. Holding her hand, give her a hug, kiss her on the head, put your arm around her. Something where you don't have to say anything, but you can express your love and support physically. The third one was to don't be afraid to ask her if you're uncertain about what she needs. Just ask her, is this something, do you just need me to listen, or do you need me to help you fix something? Okay. And here's my last bit of advice that I'll say before this. So those three things will be a huge help, but I want you to remember this for both sides. When we are hurt, when we feel disrespected, when we're overworked or stressed out or frustrated or down, whatever it is, it's usually when we hurt the ones that we love, because we're kind of like a wounded animal, right? Stuck in the corner, and whoever tries to get close, even if it's to help, we lash out. But I just want you to hold on to this thought. Usually when we are being unloving, when we're the most unlovable, is when we need our spouse's love the most. Yeah. And it's truly that love that is going to break down those walls of whatever it is that we've built up to try and protect ourselves. That love in action will break through those walls and allow us to be ourselves again. So kind of like when she said, when we're hangry, you know, where we eat, right? We eat and then we get back to who we really are, right? We feel good. We're content. Love does the same thing.
Yeah, it does.
Has the same effect when we're being unloving. You love somebody even though they're being unlovable, and it will bring them down and break down those walls and barriers to allow them to be themselves again.
Yeah, and I that's why I said make sure that you mention those, because the crazy part is when we're talking and we're upset and then you try to hug them and they're just like, no, it's okay, I don't want you to hug me.
Yeah,
it's like you're getting closer
that's
anyways.
the soap opera syndrome.
It's true. It's like we kind of just push away, but we want it, we need it. Well,
it's kind of like the soap opera, right? They slap him like, how could you do this to me? And then they pull him close, hold me. Like, what in the world is going on here?
No, but it's true, and it just made me think. I remember like a while back, Joe had like a really rough day, and he didn't really want to talk about it. He was just like, I don't want to talk about it. And so I'm like, okay, that's fine. But during like his just having a hard time, like all I did was just be extra nice and extra loving. And we were laying down and I was just like hugging on him. And he was like, I could tell he was even irritated with his own self and with me, like I don't want to hug. But in the morning, he was just like, you know what? Thank you for that. Like, I really appreciated that. And any other moment, like before, I wouldn't do that because I would get offended that he's having a bad day.
That's true.
And it's just like, it's the sad part about it is that it's not your fault that they're having a bad day, but it is your responsibility to be there for them because that's what you signed up for, to be there in the good and in the bad and in the sick and in the health. So whether you want to or not, like it's your responsibility to kind of get them out of that funk, to say. But that's it. That's all we got, guys.
Dun, dun.
Yep. So we'll say a prayer. Girls, remember, no name calling, no nagging, no telling them what they are not doing, but just express what you need from them and appreciate it before it happens. Like, when you write a text and you're like, thank you in advance. I appreciate that you're doing this. I appreciate that you're going to do that. I appreciate that you're going to take the load off of me. I appreciate you as my husband.
Very cool.
I appreciate you. Simple words. It goes a long, long way.
I like it.
All right. Am I praying?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Jesus, for just this day. Thank you for just our family on the other side of just the podcast. Yes. I just ask that you just bless their life. I ask that you bless their marriage. I ask that this year be a new year of just restoration, that you just help them to be able to come to a new place of communication, to be able to express their goals, their dreams, their visions. And not only that, but what is it that they need from each other? Help them to serve each other. Help them to be there for each other. And even on the days where it's not a good day, I ask that you just allow your Holy Spirit to give them peace, to be able to make a wise choice, to be able to give a calm answer, and to just be able to get on the other side with peace and love and just being respectful towards each other. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope you're blessed by this. Have a good one.
Bye, guys.